I watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie and I think it did something so well that it makes it the best video game adaptation in cinema. But before we discuss that, we need to see why the movie works by itself. Let's start with the obvious first. The visuals. We all knew that the movie was going to be a visual spectacle. Great lighting, amazing use of color, the production design was fantastic without compromising the integrity of the IP, and as a matter of fact, the attention to detail in the set dressing communicates how much love was put into this movie. The cinematography is also great, the camera work was well done and worked together with the other visual elements so well. For example, the plumbing commercial that was animated and rendered as if it was a cheap commercial, with green light bouncing in the characters like if they were using a green screen. The animation is incredible with the cartoony style and great body mechanics. I especially liked the scenes where Mario was training in the platformer and when he fought Donkey Kong. But what impressed me the most is the job they did animating the eye masks of the characters. That acting was in a whole other level. All of these aspects work in harmony because of the direction, and I can see how Nintendo contributed to this film. Their hand is all over the place. The music that was adapted from the video games was well used, and the editing and the script made watching the movie feel like a breeze. And I don't even have to talk about Jack Black's performance, it was perfect. The movie received a ton of bad critics and most of them were talking about the script, and I couldn't disagree more. The story is well paced, nicely structured, the characters are compelling and work together to move the plot, and it is thematically consistent. I think a lot of people confuse having a story with a serious tone with a well-written story. Not because your story explores darker or serious themes means that is well executed. You can have a light-hearted story, well written, and this movie is an example of that. I don't think the movie is perfect or that it is the best animated movie of all time, but I think we can learn a lot from it as storytellers. There is a common mistake when writing a story for video games, and this same issue is found in video game adaptations. There are a lot of experienced writers that are not familiar with game theory and game design. Understanding the elements of gamification and the rules of game design is really important if you are writing for video games. That's why there are some video games with long and boring cinematics that break the immersion of the player, because the story might be good in paper, either as a script or a novel, but it doesn't work in interactive media. So when we are working on adapting a story, we need to understand the essence of the original source, and it is impossible to get the full picture of a video game experience ignoring the mechanics and systems of a game. The Super Mario Bros. Game has a simple story that is based on an overused archetype, saving the princess. The reason why it was so revolutionary was because of the game design. It wasn't just the story of Mario saving the princess Toadstool. It was a story of us saving the princess. We had agency in the story. If we failed, Mario failed. If we succeeded, Mario succeeded as well. By not giving up, we shared that accomplishment with the character, but we can have that in a movie, so we need to translate that feeling from agency to empathy so that it can work for a non-interactive media. That's why the movie theme is about not giving up. The creative team behind this movie understood the assignment, and that's why the movie is not about saving Princess Peach. It's about Mario, a guy that is struggling in the real world and goes to a different one to gain confidence by not giving up, just like the players did with all the games. And all the other characters help convey this theme, facing their own insecurities. Princess Peach needs to face that she is human and a world that she ignores because she was raised by toads. Donkey needs to prove to himself that he's more than the grandchild of the king, more than a musclehead. Luigi needs to understand that it's not just Mario standing up for him, he needs to do that as well for himself and for his brother. Even Bowser is facing his fear of being rejected by the love of his life. He's just a bad example of how to deal with failure and negative emotions because he is the antagonist and villain. I had a great time watching the movie, and I think it did so well at translating the video game experience to the big screen that I think that is the best video game adaptation right now. And if not, at least is the adaptation Super Mario Bros. Deserved.